Look at a map of the Philippines, even for a few seconds, and even the most high and dry landlubber will be hit by what a perfect country the Philippines is for the sport of sailing. With over 36,000 kilometers of coastline stretching out longer than that of the continental United States, and almost 2 million square kilometers of territorial waters lapping up on the shores of over 7,000 islands, only 1,000 of which are inhabited. Sailing enthusiasts could, and do, spend their entire lives exploring the Philippine archipelago. So what makes the Philippines so suited to the sport of sailing?
Everything, especially the geography, you know? And it's we don't have the winter of the winter months. So it's really, to tell you the truth, it's almost 12 months a year that you can sail. It's perfect. And the natural resources that we have, the islands and the places.
One annual event in particular shines out as embodying the adventurous spirit of sailing in Philippine waters, and that's the Philippine Hobie Challenge. 2009 marked the 10th holding of the Philippine Hobie Challenge, celebrating a decade of exploring some of the most far-off corners in the country, from Vigan in the north to Siargao in the south, with a whole bunch of islands in between. As a tip of the hat on how far the Hobie Challenge had come in the decade, the course for the 10th year's event followed the first year's almost exactly, with the slight exceptions being minor, such as the starting point being moved to La Luz Resort in Batangas instead of Lucena, Quezon. Over the 10 years, much had been seen and much had been done on the Philippine Hobie Challenge, and as the 13 boats were rigged and the crews readied themselves to head out to sea, excitement was in the air once again. The Hobie Challenge is usually held 1 week after the Philippine Hobie Nationals, which determines the champion in several categories. This year, however, the challenge began on the day after the close of the Nationals, so the sailors in the challenge, rather than spending the first day double-checking equipment and themselves, would be warmed up and ready to get on the road.
So for the Saturday and Sunday, we had 2 days of racing. This is short racing, up and down courses, which each race lasting about 45 minutes to an hour. And we ended up with the national champion, the international champion, the women's champion, and the Masters champion, which are the slightly older people. And that's what happened there. That was before the challenge started, effectively. So we were there, the boats were there, all the equipment was there.
The first leg departed from La Luz Resort in La Ia, Batangas, less than 2 hours overland from Manila. Departing La Luz, sailors immediately got their Hobies up to full power, as the fierce Amihan winds that power through the Philippine archipelago this time of year were in fine form for the 38-mile southern jaunt over to Marinduque Island.
The most exciting day of the whole event. We had very good strong winds, the guys were sailing flat out. I had difficulty keeping up with them at times in my safety boats, and I saw people doing 20 knots in their Hobie cats, and that was great fun.
With a fairly strong wind filling their sails for most of the race, racers battled out every place like it was for a free car, with a minute separating the two Australian teams of Bob Nguerda and Brad Dog Wilson, and Bruce Tardrew and Sarah Turnbull, who zoomed through the 38 miles in 2 hours and 46 minutes. The 13 teams saw little drama for the day, and all pulled into Catala Resort in Gasan, Marinduque, with the welcoming party in full swing. Still buzzing from the first day of Hobie Challenge racing, sailors were met by enthusiastic Marinduqueños eager to greet guests with the putong, a local tradition where a group of men and women chant greetings, sing, dance, and place a crown of flowers on the honorees' heads. The locals showed their unique brand of music found only in Marinduque, as the skilled musicians played the kalutan, with the two tuned wooden sticks knocking out a surprisingly cheerful melody. The kalutang sticks were accompanied by intriguing instruments such as banjos made out of cooking pots covered with lizard skins and piano wire. A key factor in the Philippine Hobie Challenge is the utilizing of Hobie Cat 16-foot sailboats by all participants. The Hobie Cat is an almost 40-year design created by a Californian surfboard shaper named Hobie Alter, who sought to develop a lightweight, fast, and easy-to-sail playboat based on the Polynesian twin-hulled catamaran. Alter soon had a classic boat on his hands, and Hobie Cats, available in a variety of sizes, are still the world's best-selling catamarans.
They're fun boats, they're fast, and they're the perfect beach boats for a country like the Philippines. They're perfect because you can just, and they're very solid, very resistant.
Anybody can sail them, you know, it's just another boat. But try to excel in it, and that's another story altogether.
They're a simple boat to sail, they're all the same. You can go anywhere in the world and sail one.
We've got the concept that this boat can just run up on the beach. Now that means that we can go to beaches where there is no there's shallow water. We can go over reefs and that sort of thing. So again, that's a marvelous vehicle for us to travel on, so we can get to these places and enjoy them.
Day 2 got started early in Marinduque as the challenge's longest day was ready to begin, originally planned at 51 nautical miles. Early rising racers were treated to the sight of the full moon lighting up the sky for the last few hours before most people had hit the buttons on their alarm clocks. The full moon is a usual highlight of Hobie challenges, as the dates are scheduled around the time of February's full moon to coincide with the best combination of tides and amihan wind conditions to keep sailing conditions at their optimum. Conditions at first light showed wind conditions at a standstill. And organizers decided to alter the long day's course to meet the hand that Mother Nature had dealt.
Right, good morning everybody. Unfortunate start this morning, we're going to have to tow you. Sorry Taj, you're going to have to unpack your tow line. That's life, isn't it? About 12 miles probably before we get to where there's going to be wind out of the lee of this island. Have a look at it. So, unfortunately, we're right in the lee of the Marinduque Island, the big mountain over to the east of us. So as you can see out here, there's very little wind. So that means we've got a tow to start with. And so we'll be starting to tow the boat until we get down to Elephant Island, which is the southern tip of Marinduque. And then from that point on, the wind should be coming round the side, and then we can carry on. And we've got a 50-mile race today, so it's a good 13 miles longer than yesterday, and we haven't got the wind that we had yesterday. But it'll be good once we get round the end of the island.
Although the sailors were towed 13 miles, this still left racers with over 35 nautical miles to go.
Mark, Jerry, over.
Just to let you know, I just got a first position on the spot from Bobby Werner.
Roger that. We just shouted up them to check their spots, and we're about to start.
Fantastic. I'm tracking Bob, just so we know where he is. I'm not tracking the others at the moment.
That's good. Okay, thanks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now.
After the tow to the offshore start line, sailors had a clear shot in between Tablas and Romblon Islands to Bonbon Beach, a few kilometers south of Romblon town. Amongst fairly mild but dependable wind conditions, the Hobies of Nguerda Wilson and Tardru Turnbull kept what was to be a constant battle of slight margins for first and second place. Local sailors Joe Hagedorn and longtime Philippine resident and Portuguese national sailor Maria Videira fought off the competition to clutch third place in the leg, and Norman Harvata and Jana Frank had their best leg yet as well, several minutes behind in fourth place.
Pinoy Gamers, Pinoy Gamers, Pinoy Gamers, tara na't maglaro! If you're in the mood to play your favorite video game, heto panoorin nyo, paborito nyo mga laro. Show us all your moves, your tips and your tricks. Pagkada natin to, sama-sama. Pinoy Gamers, stand by. Pinoy Gamers, di ka pwedeng sumabla. Pinoy Gamers, pagkada mo ang iyong alala. Tara na't maglaro!
From the first Philippine Hobie Challenge 10 years ago, the event has basically consisted of two races within the challenge that represent two distinctly different forms of racing. The challenge proper, with its 4 or 5 traveling legs, and the inshore series.
The normal arrangement of racing for the challenge is that we start off with 2 days preparing the boats. One is everybody arriving, preparing the boats, getting them tuned up, and then we have 1 day where we have some practice racing. And this is what we call our inshore series. It's made up of 5 races. We have 2 at the beginning. Very important to have races at the beginning because the boats need to be tuned, they need to make sure everything's safe, make sure nothing's going to break. This year we didn't have to do that because we had the national championships. So what we decided to do was have the first 2 inshore races in Romblon, halfway through the challenge, which is rather unusual. So we had 2 legs of the challenge, then 2 races of the inshore series, then 3 legs of the challenge, and then 3 more races of the inshore series when we got here in Boracay.
Day 3 was a curious combination of inshore races held right off the campsite and an offshore race over to Tablas in the afternoon. Bonbon Beach Romblon was part of the first Philippine Hobie Challenge 10 years ago, and its white sand beaches, sprawling sandspit, and enthusiastic locals had made such an impression on organizers it was a must revisit. In fact, the beach was so warmly regarded by challenge organizers, it became the first destination in the Hobie Challenge's history to host inshore races during the middle of the challenge, rather than at the very first day of competition. Favorable wind conditions greeted racers as they woke up in Romblon, and the wind was guaranteed to keep the sailing action fast and competitive. In the 2 inshore races off of Romblon, sailors headed out for about an hour each race, as boats navigated tight turns and challenging wind conditions in courses designed to test teams' ocean mettle. As the action was directly right offshore, the locals got a good view of what was going on and watched the spectacle. Even a locally built sailboat joined the beginning of the race, just for fun. The offshore race in the afternoon stretched over to northern Tablas Island in an 18 nautical mile back and forth stretch, which passed through busy sea lanes that funnel boat traffic from Manila down to southern ports. The course had one of the most attention-getting landmarks in challenge history, the exposed hull of a wrecked cargo ship perched on Tablas's mountainous and treacherous coast.